Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery. I have a little bit different background today. I got the cutie right here. She's gonna sit on my lap the whole entire time, and if I don't pet her the whole entire time, she's probably gonna bark at me, because that's what she does. So today, this video is gonna be geared towards sensory motor, somatic OCD. And actually, you can kind of correlate this into any sensation-based fear. So if you have really bad physical anxiety symptoms, those symptoms, needing to rid them right now, can play over into somatic hyperawareness sensory motor OCD. So before I go any further, if you could please subscribe down below. As you know, I've done like 6 videos in the last week, back full force, gonna make videos as much as I can with my business, and I'll be back. And there's great videos going up all the time by other moderators, explaining their particular journey, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. A lot of us share the same similarities on what we need to do to unlatch our chronic fears. So let's talk about it. So today the video is going to be titled, What Makes Somatic OCD So Scary? Or what makes physical anxiety symptoms so scary? So the first thing I want to talk about is what is somatic OCD or hyperawareness. Now, somatic OCD / hyperawareness is an awareness of usually a bodily function, a neutral function, as some may say, or a natural function. So like you're breathing, you're blinking, you're salivating, your saliva, your heartbeat, your bridge of your nose. Blinking, breathing, and salivating, and heartbeat and saliva are probably the most common ones. And what usually happens with a somatic OCD person is it's like a major light switch. Not that this isn't what other chronic fears are when OCD is fully expressed, and more than likely its genetic form is that it just turns on like a light switch. 1 minute you weren't severely panic and hyper aware, and in 1 second, and then the next second you are. So that's what really throws people for a complete loop. Anyone watching this, I'm sure, I remember driving and I said to myself, you see, over there, I'm gonna get a little 2D on me. I said, what is going on? I just went from not having somatic OCD to having somatic OCD. And I didn't even know it was somatic OCD at the time. So if you keep seeing me look down, I have my list right here. So I don't have my whiteboard in front of me. I also have Milo on the couch over here. I'll show him at the end of the video. So this is very similar for physical manifestations of anxiety too. Maybe you have GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. Why does it feel so scary? A lot of the time it feels so scary is because, as we know, it will feel as real as it can get, and it will just be pounding away 24/7 nonstop. For myself, it was blinking for about a month, and then it transferred over to saliva and swallowing, which lasted about 18 months. And I was chronically latched. Like 24/7, all day, nonstop, stuck in compulsion land, stuck in mental rumination land, and doing a bunch of avoidance behaviors. So the next thing I want to talk about is, why does it feel like we're never getting out? And this is a simple yet complex topic. So as we know, sensory motor isn't one of the more common ones that we know of right now. Not making, as I always tell people, your fear, my somatic OCD, felt just as real to me as, say, Hannah, the other moderators, our OCD, or say Sophia's scrupulosity, or say Oliver's POCD, and so forth, and Sadie's cancel culture fears. Everything feels as real as it can get for that person. Moments, contamination fears. So it's never, oh, this fear's worse, that fear's worse. If we could all get inside each other's heads, we are just as scared per person, more than likely. But the advice on somatic OCD is poor. I've watched a lot of podcasts. I've tried a lot of the different proclaimed methods, usually just focus on your sensation and then it will go away, or distract yourself, or, trying to differentiate between awareness versus attention. Most of that has a place in a sense, but that's not going to get you to where you want to go. What's going to get you to where you want to go is looking at the core fear of it ruining your life, and if you notice the sensation forever, your life is going to be ruined, and so forth. That's how you unlatched the chronic anxiety if you have physical manifestation with the fear of being hyper aware for the rest of your life. So again, the wrong approach. So there's a lot of people that offer, and I understand where they're coming from, distraction type techniques, or relabeling, or refocusing. So what happens is I talk to people in the somatic OCD realm and physical manifestation realm, but we'll talk mainly about sensory motor. I did want to kind of categorize the physical symptoms of OCD, the physical manifestations, because they can play into these different types of hyper-awarenesses. but strictly somatic OCD, being deathly afraid of a certain sensation. So let's use mine, my saliva. So they'll tell you to focus on your saliva, which can have its place, because habituation, I have heard people say that habituation has no play in it, and what they don't understand is habituation is a neurological term for your brain understanding there's nothing to be scared of, so it doesn't bring up the sensation nearly as much or not as all. So when people say that habituation doesn't play a part in somatic OCD, they're wrong. They're not right at all. So, but what they do is a lot of people will tell you to just distract yourself, or that everything is about the exposure of the sensation. Now, the sensation itself is not exactly the problem. It can be part of the problem if it's linked to a health OCD. So Brianna had somatic OCD and health OCD linked together. I know other people who have sneezing OCD and afraid they're going to give themselves a brain aneurysm and stuff like that. You know what's back. This one is I think this one is a macadamia hazelnut. It's amazing. I only drink my coffee black. I'm like one of those snobs, you know. No cream, no sugar. I want my coffee black. But anyway, so, you know, why does it feel like it's never going to get out? Because we want to rid ourselves of it right now, and understandably so. You don't want to feel that sensation anymore. And when in reality, it has nothing to do with the sensation. The sensation has been there forever. And even if you did notice it, slightly hyper-aware or even massively hyper-aware, let's say the worst case scenario. Let's say you noticed your saliva every second of every day for the rest of your life. It still would not warrant chronic anxiety. It's the fear, that we have that is extremely driving this sensation. It's just the number one driving factor. And if someone is not talking about the core fear with somatic OCD, they don't understand somatic OCD. Well, they really don't understand OCD if they're not talking about the core fear. We've seen time and time again that if you have chronic OCD, and it's not maybe so much the typical contamination OCD or harm OCD, not saying these are easy to unlatch by any means, because OCD is not as simple as expose yourself, and it will be gone. If you have a chronic fear that you're going to harm your kid, you have to look into that core fear and not just work on exposing yourself to being around knives around your children. This is something that needs to be touched on, because people think that you'll just expose yourself and get away. Now, some people can expose themselves and get away from certain OCD fears, but the majority of chronic OCD people will need to look into some sort of what is the core fear? And I just did a video on this 2 days ago called When Do You Have to Look at the Core Fear and When Do You Not Have to Look at the Core Fear? Because you're not engaging with sensory motor OCD while it's coming. That's a compulsion and an avoidance compulsion. It's working on disputing a couple times a day. If it's blasting away super uncomfortable, you're just going to sit there and let it blast away and go about your day, and maybe the next day work on your disputing, bring those tools with you, living with uncertainty. So the next one is, why do we feel like we're treatment resistant? Now, somatic OCD people are one of the more common forms of OCD where people definitely think they're treatment resistant. I thought I was treatment resistant. You know, I was misdiagnosed in my own particular case and stuff like that. The reality is no OCD is treatment resistant. There's a lot of information out there talking about, you know, certain OCDs, PTSD, chronic anxiety. These people there's treatment resistant. And then when you look at the approaches that people, the provider, or whoever's helping them, doesn't matter if they're a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a coach, a medical doctor, it doesn't matter who they are, a counselor, the approach is usually not correct. Now, I will say this. Now, is there certain people that might have like a low-level somatic OCD where they could just go about uncertainty and it might unlatch? Sure. I've never met anyone like that personally. Everyone I talk to with somatic OCD has it at a chronic format. And this is why it ties back to the why does it feel like we're never going to escape. I always use this. It feels almost like if you have two Capri Suns and you're squeezing them underneath your tongue 24/7 all day long, if you have saliva OCD. Paul Little laughed at that because he had the same thing as well. So this is one of the reasons why we feel like we're treatment resistant, is because it's not well known right now, and there's really terrible information out there. I just heard someone recently saying that they gave themselves somatic OCD. I've now touched on this in 2 videos. I would like to touch on it again. If anyone is telling you that they can make themselves experience a fear, even when they have OCD, like I can't say to myself, I'm going to experience ROCD right now. Oh man, that's not how it works. And it discredits the journey that we're going through. Now, on top of that, on the other side of the coin, we don't need anyone to understand us. It would be nice if they did, It definitely would be nice, but the reality is, how could they understand us? We don't need them to understand us. I can tell you who understands us, me, who I'm talking to you, Paul Little, Brianna, Rob. There's people out there who have made tremendous progress in their somatic or sensory awareness, hyperawareness, OCD recovery journeys, and are now going to give you the advice that we've seen have worked for ourselves. And in the reality, a lot of the advice we all use is what's working for the majority of us, and that's looking at the core fears. So what are the core fears of somatic OCD? If I notice this for the rest of my life, it's going to ruin my life. It's going to be the fear of it ruining events, birthday parties, weddings, childbirth, not being present in the moment. And yeah, the fear of being stuck forever, the fear of fear loop. This is why, and listen, I totally used myself to okay, focus on my saliva for 15 minutes every other day. But there's too many people that make it too simplistic, and they'll say, just do that and you'll be good. Or walk around. Here's something that's really key. People will tell you to walk around all day and just say to yourself, oh, everyone else salivates. That is only going to get you so far. That is agreement. That is not unconditional acceptance. Let me make this clear. If you walk around all day and you agree with the thought, you're like, what's a good one like I just said? Well, everyone salivates. While that does have a degree, if that's all you use, yes, everyone salivates. That's true. But if that's all you use, you will not get underneath the fear more than likely, because that's still agreement. It's not unconditional. It's not, even if I notice my saliva for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be the end of the world as I see it, instead of everyone notices their saliva. Because then OCD will say something like, well, what if yours is worse? What happens if you salivate more? When you have unconditional life acceptance, it doesn't matter what it throws at you, because you have unconditional life acceptance. So these are the main things I wanted to cover. It's not going to be, I always say it's not going to be too long of a video, and we're already at 12 minutes. Look at this. So when we're sleeping at night, this is what she does. My wife and I sleep in separate rooms because our sleep schedules were all whacked out. When I was in school, I didn't really sleep a whole lot, which wasn't healthy. I do recommend getting a good balance on your life structure. I never had balance. And so just middle of the night, jump in between my legs and just put her face on my stomach and to be at 2:30 in the morning. Or what she'll do is she'll push me off the bed. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Just push me off the bed. I'll sleep on the ground. She's so cute. But yeah, those are the main things. I think the treatment resistant, why it feels so scary is because it's almost like an internal type dialogue that's going on. Another thing I do want to cover is, and I've covered this a couple different times, is probably the biggest mental compulsion is the internal thermometer for almost all OCD, but especially somatic OCD. What do I mean by that? Wake up. Is it there today? Now this isn't going to come easily. It's going to take getting up, boom, 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 right when we wake up. We know sometimes the morning people, sometimes fear of going to sleep. Somatic OCD for myself, it was in the morning. I was checking it, internal thermometer. Is it more strong today? Is it worse today? Blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't really, what I needed to get past that. It's just get up, it's there, go throughout my day. Look at her, she's snoring. She's a snorer. She's the most pathetic dog ever. So again, no such thing as treatment-resistant OCD more than likely, or PTSD or chronic anxiety disorders of any type. Just haven't gotten underneath those core fears yet. Why it feels so scary is because the information is not really that great right now. A lot of people might have it and don't talk about it, so they don't even know they might have OCD. A lot of long-term distraction techniques, a lot of techniques that don't look at the fear. Again, if the person you're working with chronic OCD is not looking at the fear, you might want to get a second opinion, okay? Because the fear, no OCD cycle. No fear, no OCD cycle. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to unlatch this fear. Might take you a couple of years. Might take you 9 months. Might take you 3 years. Might take you 4 months. Who knows? Everyone's different. This is why we don't do comparative suffering. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe down below. I think I have about 10 somatic OCD videos. I definitely want to do one with Paul Little together. I think that would be a really good one. He was someone that I looked up to almost as a mentor when I first found Rob, besides Rob. And that's that. So thank you so much for watching. Let's unlatch this a little bit. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh crap, I hit the wrong one. Let me see. I'm getting all close and personal. So what is it? Look at this bum. Oh yeah, I'm in my gym shorts right now. And we got, look at this. Gym shorts and a dress t-shirt. That's a great look. Kevin O'Leary's videos from Shark Tank, he does the same thing, except he's in his underwear. Look at this one. This is, you know what we like to call him? The destroyer of things that Erica and I have to pay for, like underwear, like clothing. Oh my gosh, look at this. Like clothing, like the corner of our stairs. Yeah. And this is the best part. They have a whole bin of toys, a whole bin, and they bring sticks in from the backyard and chew them, and it's all over the place. It sticks on the ground. They're all over them, chips all over the place. This is, yeah, that's you. He's like, I don't even care. But thank you so much for watching. I know I went off tangent a little bit, but I know people like seeing the dogs, and have a great day.